Hello, Bitcoin universe. How are you guys doing out there today? I hope you're doing well. It's the Bitcoin miner here, and I want to talk to you guys about something really cool I had figured out. As you may or may not know, I recently built a new computer. You can go back and look at my other videos and see what I built exactly. So I'm playing around and digging around online. I don't know if you've also noticed, I also rent hashing power from NiceHash. I've been doing so for a while, and as you just saw recently, I started posting videos about how I got into GPU mining, and because I really sparked my interest with Ether and some of the other coins that are out there, and I was like, well, I might as well look into building a rig, maybe 2 rigs. Now, during this whole process, I had learned and figured out that I could actually mine Bitcoins with my gaming computer that I just built. And it's not even anything super crazy. You can see it right here on my screen. All it is a GeForce 980 Ti and the Intel processor. It's like probably 2 generations old at this point. It is the 6-core, though. And I am mining Bitcoin right now. As we speak, I'm getting $2 a day, which is a little low. It's usually closer to $2.50 or so. Maybe even $3 a day. It depends if you're running your GPUs or just the graphics cards. On a regular basis, you'll probably just run the graphics card and not the GPUs. But I'm using this to give you guys an example. And this can, even get up as high as $4 per day. So it's going to fluctuate. And this is just a rough estimate. So what this is going to do, remember I said that you're going to be mining Bitcoins. So what this actually is, what NiceHash is doing is it's taking your processing power and renting it to other people and giving you Bitcoin in exchange for it. So it's a backdoor way to mine Bitcoins without actually having to buy all of the big equipment, invest thousands of dollars in it. Everybody has a computer at the house. As long as you've got a decent graphics card, this will work for you. If you have a gaming computer, it will make you that much more. This price right here, $2 a day, as you see it's still fluctuating, $1.77 a day. It probably will average closer to $2 a day. Was actually about per graphics card. Using the CPU doesn't make me hardly anything. It's 19 cents. To be honest with you, it's really not worth the wear and tear on the CPU for what it does. Sometimes there are certain ones where they pay you very heavily. You can get paid several, like maybe $5, $4 per day. It just depends what coin is going. So you kind of have to watch it. But for the most part, I leave that one off. I'll just have it on for the demo for now. But if you have 2 graphics cards, you can make twice this. 3 graphics cards, triple this. 4 graphics cards, triple this. So you can see where I'm going with this. And you can do this with the hardware you have right now. Just think about it. Your graphics card can pay for itself in about 100 days. Buy the nicer graphics card. Run this when you're not using the computer, or run it when you're sleeping or whatever, and you get your money back. And the cool thing is you're getting it in Bitcoin. So I'm going to show you guys how to set this up and how to do it. I'm really excited to show you. So first things first, we're going to have to go to their website, which is going to be, here we go, NiceHash. It's nicehash.com. Once you get to their homepage, which is right here, you're going to want to go ahead and click Sell Hashing Power. And then you're going to click your GPU miner. Go ahead and download it. I've taken the liberty of downloading it for us. So I've got it right here downloaded. It's going to be a zip file. Oops. I'm going to go ahead and doing the recording and all of this. I'm hoping it's not lagging it out too bad. So let me go ahead and stop this. Turn off the CPU and let it just run the graphics card, because that doesn't seem to lag out the computer. Alright, so now we've just downloaded this file. You're going to want to double click this application, or actually it's really going to be zipped depending if you're on Windows 7 or 10. If you're on 7, it's going to show that it's zipped. You're going to have to right click it and then unzip it. I've already gone through the liberty of unzipping this as well. So we'll go ahead and close this out. I will move over a zipped one. unzipped one. All right. So this is what it looks like unzipped. You're going to have to go ahead and install the software and just basically double-click on a... Oh, excuse me. Well, this should be the startup. I believe, so I think it's since I already have it installed, you just double-click on this one, guys. The NiceHash miner, I have to double-check that. But once you actually have it installed, you'll just right-click this, create a shortcut, take your shortcut and drag it out to your page like I have right here. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this one because I don't need it. And once you have that, we'll go ahead and stop this, close this. You have the shortcut here. We're going to go ahead and open it up. And hopefully you guys find it like an install or setup button there that will work for what do the initial setup. Let's see. Okay, again, I have this thing on auto run. So when you guys first open this, you're going to have to put your Bitcoin address here. So go ahead, copy and paste your Bitcoin address. I strongly suggest you copy and paste, much easier than trying to type it out. So copy and paste your Bitcoin address here. Select the closest server to you, which is right here. You're going to need to run a benchmark. Go ahead and select benchmark. So maybe 10, 15 minutes. And I would just run the standard and go ahead and run it. What this is going to do is it's going to test your system and see what it's capable of doing. Okay, so can it mine a NeoScript and make you more profit? Or can it mine any one of these? Which one is your particular system best at mining? Which one's going to give you the most profit? So that's what this is going to test. Once it's done testing it, it'll tell you. And when that's complete, you just go ahead and click start. It's that simple, guys. You don't need to do anything else. Now, there are some settings and tweaks that you can do. So we're going to go ahead and click settings. As I showed you earlier, I have mine on auto mine, which is pretty cool. You can hide the mining window automatically. Let's see. There's a couple in here I thought was pretty. Here we go. Start mining when idle, which is awesome. So if this is your main computer and you game or whatever, and then let's say you walk away, you go to work or whatever, and the computer goes idle, it just will automatically start up. You come back, you can stop it. So that's a great feature right there. I do like that one as well. Minimizing tray is awesome, and then the auto start mining, which is great too once you start it up, and then you can also select that. Once we go in here, again, I just started playing with this. I've used it some on this computer. I don't know all of these settings, to be straight up with you guys, but I'm doing the basics. I really don't know how to play with any of this because I haven't used the CPU very much other than basic testing. But I do really know that you can say you want to make a minimum of $2 per day, or you only want your computer to do it when it's really high, like $3 per day. So put $3 in there, and then it will automatically start up or stop when it doesn't reach that point. And you can do that for each version of the script here, and then here. Again, to be quite honest with you, I have not played with any of these other settings yet. I just leave it alone so far. And everything's worked fine. I've been running this for a week straight now, testing it just fine on my own computer. I've been using it, so I wanted to show you guys. Let's go ahead and close this. Close without savings. Yes. All right. Then we're going to go ahead and click start. All right, guys, again, this is a really easy way for everybody at home, well, maybe not everybody, but everybody who's, got a decent computer, gamers, and just be able to mine Bitcoins. I mean, you can make a couple dollars a day. It does cost you power. Depending on the power supply that you guys have, what's the efficiency of it is going to be one rating. If it's a low efficiency, it may not be worth it. I've looked at a few calculators. I think, I can pull up a calculator for you guys, and we can take a look at that as well. So we're back up to 214, and this is just using the graphics card, not even using the core. So you can tell it fluctuates depending on what it's mining. Let's bring up the calculator. But if I remember correctly, power for this is about 35 cents, but we'll find out closer. So you're still going to net about $1.75 per day just for your computer. You have to pay a little more power. If you guys are, have free power, then this is even better. All right. So let's go ahead and see if we can get to...
Na Hej.sk teraz doručujeme zadarmo. Objednajte teraz a nákup máte do druhého dňa doma. Využite dopravu zadarmo. Hej.sk. Akčný internetový obchod.
See if we can get to... Where is it? Okay, let's see. Okay. Profitability calculator. So let's go to what I have in this computer right now, which is a 980 Ti. Okay, here we go. Calculate. So I'm kind of using their basic setups. Cost, sure. Power consumption, okay. USD, I pay a little bit less than 10 cents. So, but 10 cents is probably the national average, so we'll leave it at that. The main thing is going to be, this is how it's going to mine, a little bit of NeoScript. So it's got 3 primary ones it's going to do. It's going to be, on average, $2.45 a day. This one card is $2.45 a day is what it's going to make net. It's going to cost me 65 cents a day. I'm sorry about the prior statement on power. So it's actually going to net me the $1.80. Now, you guys have to remember, this is also the older technology chip. It is not near as power efficient as the newer cards. The newer cards are twice as almost as power efficient as this card. So the power cost is going to be a lot different depending on what you have. But still, $1.80 net is great. So I figured I'd run it for a little bit. I paid for my graphics card. Recoup a little bit out of it. And I get some Bitcoin in my wallet and get to play and dabble and check it out. So let's go up here and show you what a new card might look like. Although AMD cards are actually better and they're even cheaper, so let's just show you what the new AMD cards will do. Here we go. And calculate. See, look, the power cost is half. Oh, but the production rate is not as well either. Huh, the cards are a lot cheaper. Let's go compare it next to an AMD card. Interesting. Or, excuse me, an NVIDIA card. So an NVIDIA card, let's go with the new 1080 Founders Edition. Calculate. What is that, about a $500, $600 card? Okay, so see, the power consumption is about half. Mine was about 60 cents, where it went down to 36 cents. And it does produce more per day because it's more powerful. And you're getting $2.56 per day. Now, the AMD card, the earlier one I just showed you, I think was a $230 card. So for a $230 card, that's not bad. Let's see what it says for ROI. Okay, so you get your money back in 367 days. Ooh, that's really expensive for that card. I don't think it's quite that expensive. I think it's like $550, isn't it? Oh, it won't let me out yet. Okay, well, anyways, that's way too expensive for that card. So it's half that. It's more like 150 days, which is awesome. Let's see. Let's go back to the AMD card, and we'll wrap this up. Here we go. $270. Okay. I still think it's cheaper than $270, but okay. See, 200 days. Still, not bad. In 200 days, you get a free graphics card. You get to do what you want with it. All right, let's just compare this towards an something around the same price. The S9s are just too expensive. I must have passed it. There it is. So the S9s are just too expensive. We all know you make, what, about $10 a day? We'll go back to that. Let's go to the S7. S7's about, yeah, $500, $400. I think you can get them used a little bit cheaper. So it's incredible. My home computer is making me more money than my Antminer S7 right now. This is just absolutely insane. This is so cool. I'm so glad I had this. I'm trying to share it with you guys, and I hope you're on board with it. But it makes me $3 a day. It costs me $3.10 a day. I'm losing money on my Antminer S7. I hope the price of Bitcoin goes up soon. I'm sure it will. So I am still running my miners off and on. It's been hot in North Carolina, so I've been turning them off during the day. So I'm not running up my power bill too bad. So let's see. Let's go ahead and switch this down to the S9s and see what those are. Come down in price. There's, well, what did it say? Oh, yeah, depending where you go, that's about right. Wow. An S9 for $2,000 makes me $5 a day and 50 cents. Incredible. So you could build yourself a computer. Yeah, it would probably cost you $2,000 depending on how and what you put in it, but it could easily cost you $1,500 too. But you know, it's pretty neat. All right, guys. I hope this gave you a good demo of what this can do. Making $2.27 right now, just one graphics card, 982, you know, and I'm paying about 60 cents in power. So yeah, I'm making about $1.70. And again, it fluctuates a little bit. Straight with my new computer I just built. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm glad I was able to bring it to you. If you liked it, make sure to give me a thumbs up. If you don't, you know, go ahead and give me a thumbs down. What can I do? I'll try to do better next time. But I thought this was a really cool thing to show you guys how to get Bitcoins mining with your regular computer. You know, we all thought it was gone. So here's a backdoor way to do it. And hope you enjoy this trick. See you guys later in the next video. Talk to you later on, guys. See you. Bye. Oops. Don't want to.
So Bitcoin mining is pretty weird and it relies on some complex math. But people who want to invest in Bitcoin want to know how it works, at a basic level at least. So this video is an attempt to explain just that. Okay, so in Satoshi's white paper, he included this diagram to help explain mining. So there's blocks that are connected to each other, and each block includes the previous hash of the block before it, a nonce, and a bunch of transactions. So this is what I'm going to try to get to explain in this video. So maybe you've seen videos before that explain Bitcoin like this.
Government. With Bitcoin, miners use special software to solve math problems and are issued a certain number of Bitcoins in exchange.
So that's a pretty good explanation. It's kind of a metaphor for mining gold. You may have seen this Vice documentary that shows you what modern day Bitcoin mines actually look like.
我们每天的产币量，像这种规模的产币量，大概是在20到25个币之间，大概有3000台左右。
So miners work to earn new Bitcoins, and in that process, they serve to timestamp transactions, and this forms the backbone of the Bitcoin network. There's a few blockchain explorers, like blockchain.info, and this is a screenshot that shows 3 recent blocks that were mined 2 minutes ago, 11 minutes ago, and 14 minutes ago. It also shows the number of transactions in each block, and we can go into and see this live. Here are the live transactions. And if we go into this most recent block, which was mined 9 minutes ago by bw.com, if we click on that, we see a bunch of stats about this block. So number of transactions, total output in US dollars, the height, which is another way of saying the block number. We also see the hash of this block, the hash of the previous block, and the Merkle root of the block. And notice how the hash of the blocks has, I think there's 16 or 17 zeros there. So that's going to be important later on. We're going to come back to why that's important. Basically, miners are racing to get the hash of a block that begins with so many zeros, and it only happens statistically once every 10 minutes. So, okay, so a little background, the SHA-256 hash algorithm. SHA stands for Secure Hash Algorithm, and it's just a mathematical operation, a long one, that takes any digital data and outputs a 256-bit number. So that's 256 zeros and ones, or in hexadecimal, I don't know how many, maybe 50 digits going from 0 to 9, and then from A to E or D, I can't remember. So the SHA-256 hash function was developed by the NSA, and it's widely used all over the internet in security applications and protocols. You may have heard of SSL, PGP, which is pretty good privacy, SSH, and more. So basically, we can hash the text string hello and get this. And anyone who hashes hello will always get this output, 2CF2, blah, blah, blah. And I'll show you how this works. Here we go, hello, calculate the hash, there it is. If we add one digit here, this hash is going to completely change. We can also hash files. So here's another website that allows you to hash files. I'll drag a screenshot in to here. And this screenshot here outputs this hash. So this is pretty cool because it allows us to verify that the data has or has not changed. We know the hash of hello or any file is blah, 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 blah. If that file changes in the future, its hash will also change. And we can say, we can determine without a doubt, okay, that file has changed or not changed. And when it comes to systems like Bitcoin, we want to know that the ledger hasn't been changed. We want to trust that ledger. So really, what does this SHA-256 function look like? Well, here's Ken Sheriff performing one hash 256 algorithm by pencil.
And now we write down the circled bits underneath here for our choice, 0001, 1111, 0.
So this whole hashing algorithm takes him, I think it's 16 minutes or something.
Did one round
almost 17
of the
minutes.
SHA-256 hashing.
So how much hashing is being done by Bitcoin miners? Well, a lot. The hash rate in terahashes per second, that's 10 to the 12 hashes per second, is 1,500,000. So it's just like a stupid amount of zeros today. And this graph is a linear scale. It was growing huge back here too. We just couldn't see it. In fact, in May of 2013, someone calculated that the Bitcoin network could do more hashes per second than the top 500 supercomputers combined. So we're really at astronomical levels of hashing. So we're almost getting close to how Bitcoin mining works. In Satoshi's white paper, he went over how to build a timestamp server. And basically, he uses items, but he's basically referring to transactions. You can put all the current transactions into one file and hash them along with whatever history you have. That gives you one hash output, which you can combine with the next block of transactions and hash that again. And this allows you, this hash output here is going to be the same as long as all these historical transactions haven't changed. This is how we get trust in the blockchain. And then Satoshi added one more brilliant ingredient, how to let anyone contribute to this blockchain based on how much they work. So the proof of work involves scanning for a value that, when hashed with the 256 algorithm, miners are looking for a specific number of zeros. So as I said here, they're looking for 17 zeros. So what are miners hashing? Well, they're hashing the previous hash. They're hashing the file that represents all the transactions, and they're hashing this nonce, which is shorthand for a number used once. And basically what they're doing is they're taking the previous hash, they're taking the nonce, and they're taking the hash of the new transactions, they're calculating the hash. If it doesn't start with 17 zeros here, we're going to increment the nonce and do it again. Doesn't have 17 zeros there, they're going to increment it and do it again. And that's all they're doing until they find some magic nonce that creates 17 zeros. And obviously nonce is not in there, nor is hash of new transactions, nor is previous hash. Right, that's what they're doing. I'm simplifying here a little bit, but that's the nuts and bolts of it. So, and then the final step is if too much mining power comes on the network, or as more and more mining power comes on the network, well, the rate at which new blocks are found is going to go down from 10 minutes to 9 to 8. And when that happens, the code automatically self-regulates to add more zeros required to be found by miners. And that brings the heart rate back up to 1 block per 10 minutes. So I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope you feel like you understand Bitcoin mining to a greater degree. And I'd love to hear your comments down below.
It's time for Nerdgasm.
Hey, what's up, Nerdgasm fans? Jerry here, aka Barnacles. Now, if you guys follow me on my social networks, you know over the last couple of weeks, I've been getting into something called cryptocurrency. Now, the most common cryptocurrency that everybody seems to know and love is Bitcoin. It's definitely the most popular currency out there. So the majority of this video, that's what we're going to be focusing on, but we may also talk about some of the altcoins. Now, this whole thing started with this guy right here. This is a 3D printed Bitcoin that I made in color fab bronze fill material, and the purpose of that video was just to show how to print and polish a coin. I chose Bitcoin because I thought it'd be kind of cool. I wasn't actually that into cryptocurrency. Well, lo and behold, I got a lot of messages from you guys after producing that video asking me about cryptocurrency, and I was not equipped to answer your questions. Well, luckily, a company named Final Hash came along, and they sent me an email saying they really loved the video, and they were wondering if I was interested in real cryptocurrency. And I told them, yeah, actually, I've been getting a lot of requests for it and everything. I'd love to know more. Well, after we talked for a while, they decided they want to send me a whole bunch of hardware to play around with. I have a couple things here, a Spawn Dually SP20, an Antminer S3 Plus, and a couple of the little guys. And these are all ASIC-based miners, and we're going to talk about those during the video. But basically, I'm going to show you guys everything that I've learned over the last couple of weeks if you want to get up in your own Bitcoin mining operation, or if you want to investigate cryptocurrency, or if you're just curious. But I do want to warn each and every one of you that throughout my 2 weeks, I noticed a lot of volatility in cryptocurrency. So you need to be aware of that if you get started in this and you buy equipment and you try to build your own mine, there is a chance you may never get your investment back. So make sure you do your research, you make wise decisions, and don't lose your house.
Because your wife might make you sleep on the couch if you do that.
All right, guys, enjoy the video. Okay, cryptocurrency is a virtual currency that's both generated and circulated online exclusively. There is nothing backing the currency in the physical world like chunks of gold or bars of silver or any other precious metal. The value of the currency comes basically from its supply, its demand, and its popularity. Now, the cool thing about cryptocurrencies is they're decentralized, meaning that there is no centralized governing body. You don't have a bank that controls the money. You don't have a government that controls the money. You don't have a huge corporation that controls the money. The bank is the collective involvement of everybody in the Bitcoin network. Now, from the moment a Bitcoin was generated all the way out to the last participation it had in a transaction. Now, the cool thing is anybody can create a node. Even you could create a node, and I have a link down in the video description if you're feeling brave enough. But I will warn you that the Bitcoin transactions, because everyone is tracked over time, the ledger's about 25 gigabytes right now, and it's only getting bigger. So I wouldn't recommend creating a node unless you have a lot of bandwidth and a lot of spread out across the entire world. I actually have a cool link down in the video description that'll show you the current distribution of nodes on the network. And it's really cool because the way the currency works is the more nodes you have, the more honest and trustworthy the network is. There's many other elements to that, but that's a good foundation. Now, Bitcoin is also one of the most stable cryptocurrencies. The value fluctuates pretty dramatically at times, but for the most part, it stays pretty stable by comparison. And that's largely because of its adoption. If you go around the world, you can actually see little stickers on buildings that say Bitcoin accepted here. If you go to Expedia or Newegg or even Microsoft now, you can do digital transactions online using Bitcoin for purchases. Now, that says a lot for the currency because it's stabilized to the point where big corporations are actually accepting it. Before that, it was generally used for transactions between people, not big companies. So this is a great indication that the currency is going to be around for a very long time. Now, you could imagine with Bitcoin being so successful that there were a lot of other, I'm going to say, copycats that came out, and there's literally thousands of them. There's thousands of cryptocurrencies now if you actually go out and do your research. And to be honest, I'm working on my own right now. Now, as you might imagine, since Bitcoin became so popular and it gained so much momentum, everybody wanted lightning to strike twice, so everybody and their brother went out and created something called an altcoin. And that's just what it is, an alternative coin. They basically took the Bitcoin algorithm, tweaked it, and created a unique coin. And in some cases, they even changed the entire encryption algorithm. But I think it's safe to say that a lot of these coins are actually just garbage coins. They're not worth anything. But there are a couple that managed to pull themselves up and become successful. And a lot of these you might know, like Litecoin, you got Dogecoin, you got Darkcoin, and you got
Titcoin.
Yeah, I said Titcoin. But the real heroes of the Bitcoin network are the miners. These are the people that dedicate their CPU cycles to the network for the purpose of verifying transactions and making sure that everything that's happening on the Bitcoin network is legitimate. Now, it's actually a brilliant model. Basically, what happens is the Bitcoin network is arranged in such a way that there's a lottery that occurs every 10 minutes. Anytime people are making transactions across the internet, basically saying, I want to send Bitcoins to somebody else, they want to send Bitcoins to somebody else, all those transactions for roughly a 10-minute period go into something called a block. Now, what happens is that block needs to be verified by somebody, but you don't want it verified by a single party because that person could be corrupt. So the idea is they hold a lottery, and this lottery is they tell everybody out on the internet, whoever comes up with the magic number first gets the privilege of verifying this block and adding it to the official ledger. So the way the system works is it has a difficulty rating. Depending on how many people or how much processing power there is on the network, so how many people are mining, what equipment they're using, it basically measures the entire processing power of the network and then determines a number that will take approximately 10 minutes to come up with. And when I say 10 minutes to come up with, I say with the combined power of the entire network. So what that means is the more people that are mining and the faster equipment that comes on the network, the harder it is for you or me to actually find the magic number. So the solution to this as time went on was to create something called pools. Now, I use BitcoinAffiliateNetwork.com, and I have a link down in the video description. And they're basically a pool. So what I do is I take all my Bitcoin mining equipment, and I connect it to their pool and say, go mine on a pool. And what this does is you and thousands and thousands and thousands of other people's mining equipment all gets pooled together into one resource that's trying to solve that magic number on the network. So there is a much higher odd of you guys solving it, and then whoever solves it, they basically split up the reward for solving it among all the people in the pool. Now, they don't divvy it up evenly. They divvy it up based on a percentage of power that you offered to the pool. So if you had a bunch of slow equipment attached, you might get a couple cents. If you have a lot of fast equipment attached, you might get a couple dollars. And the way that Bitcoin keeps the network stimulated so that people like you and I want to dedicate our power to it is through this reward system. And right now it's at 25 Bitcoins. So if you find that magic number all by yourself doing something called solo mining, basically you're not in a pool, you're just like, screw it, I'm going to play the lottery and just put my machine straight out there. If you hit that magic number before anybody else, you get 25 Bitcoins. Well, Bitcoin's at about $310, give or take, when I'm making this video. That's a lot of scratch. But the odds of you finding that number, it may take you 10 years, it may take you 20 years. You might end up burning more power and spending more on equipment than you ever make off those 25 Bitcoins. So the smarter move is to mine in a pool, and that way you're guaranteed to have a semi-regular income based on the results of everybody sharing the profits. Now, another problem that you run into with the Bitcoin network, and we talked about this a little bit, is the difficulty. And the difficulty is when too many people come onto the network and they're mining. So I shouldn't say too many. I should say when more people come onto the network and they get faster and faster and faster equipment, the problem is that they have to raise the difficulty of finding that magic number so that it still takes about 10 minutes to find, because they only want to give out 25 new Bitcoins on the network approximately every 10 minutes and only 6 times an hour. Well, that means every time somebody upgrades their giant Bitcoin mining to the next generation of hardware, if we don't upgrade to the next generation of hardware, our odds significantly drop at finding a coin, and that affects our ability to be profitable at it. So Bitcoin kind of fueled a little bit of an arms race when it comes to hashing technology, because everybody used to just hash on CPUs. And on a CPU, you'd get a couple kilohash per second, and that was considered good because everybody on the network was using CPUs. The difficulty was really low. So that magic lottery number didn't have as many freaking numbers in it. It was easier for you to just randomly hit on. But then people started busting out GPUs because they found out the graphics cards could process this equation a lot faster than CPUs. So then everybody jumped on the GPUs, and they were processing so much faster than the CPU guys that the CPU guys were getting pushed out. So then the CPU guys were like, oh God, we better upgrade to GPUs. So then the GPU guys were like, oh wow, what's the new latest and greatest technology? All right, anyways, this war goes on for a little while, and here's where we're at today. These guys right here, the Antminer S3 right here, it's called an ASIC system. That stands for Application-Specific Integrated Circuit. These guys are designed to basically do one thing. It's a chip designed to just run the SHA-256 hashing algorithm. That's it. Now this guy up here, this little Zeus miner, this is actually a script encryption, so this wouldn't even work for Bitcoin. So we'll put that aside. This little grid seed guy, he can do both Bitcoin, the SHA-256, and the script, except for he's not very effective because he's just really slow. But just to give you a comparison, this little itty bitty cheap grid seed here is as fast as most graphics cards were at one point. I mean, this little guy right here was outpacing graphics cards with a little DC voltage input and a USB. Now, this guy right here is an Antminer S3. He can process at about 400 to 500 gigahash per second. Just to give you an idea, that's about 500 times faster than a top-end GPU. We're talking like an R9 290. This thing will kick its ass by 500 times because it's application specific. This thing only does one thing. It hashes numbers. That's it. It's just a giant calculator. But if you're really hardcore, then they got this guy. This is the Spawn Dually SP20. Now this guy will consume up to about 1100 watts of electricity, and he can generate 1.7 terahash a second. That's over 3 times faster than the Antminer. So that's 1,700 times faster. Could you imagine that? Having a computer with 1,700 GPUs all over the place. It would fill a room. It would eat enough electricity to make a power plant dim. It just wouldn't work. But this can do it in 1,100 watts. So you can see the equipment gets more efficient and faster each generation. So when you're getting into Bitcoin mining, you have to think about profitability. And in order for you to make any kind of a profit, you have to be on ASIC hardware. Basically, GPUs won't cut it anymore. Now, if you do have a GPU mining rig stuffed away in your closet somewhere, pull it back out and blow the dust off it. There's a new coin coming out called Zifter coin. I have a link down in the video description, and that is a coin that will only be able to mine via and then once it shows up, if you want to sell it, you just go click on the sell button. Now, you have to be a confirmed account to sell, but you click on the sell button, you say how much you want to sell, and then it takes a couple of days and it's in your checking account. It works really well. Also, the last thing that I want to mention in this process is if you decide instead of selling your Bitcoin and then you want to use those coins to buy Bitcoins, you can use a site called Cryptsy.com. And it's basically an exchange where you can go and actually exchange your coin. for other coin without actually converting it to money first. And I think that that's actually a really cool thing also. Alright guys, now to wrap up this video, the last thing I want to talk about is just to reiterate the pros and cons of Bitcoin mining. First of all, you have the expense of the equipment to think about. You have to buy the ASIC miners, and then you also have to buy power supplies for them. So you have to factor in the cost of an ATX power supply that can support it. So like for instance, with the Spawn Dually, you got to buy that, then you got to buy, at least an 1100 watt capable power supply. I'd recommend something higher, 12 or 1300 watt power supply. So that's going to be fairly spendy. Then once you calculate that, you need to figure out how much is your power where you live per kilowatt. And also check to make sure that they don't ramp up the cost of power if you go over a certain amount of kilowatts. Because if you're not locked in at that kilowatt rate, you might find out that you consume so much power that month that they put you up into a whole different bracket. So make sure your power is cheap. As long as your power is 10 cents or cheaper a kilowatt, you're probably going to be profitable for the time being, but there's no guarantee in the future, which leads me to the difficulty of the network. You have no control and you can't predict how many new miners are going to come onto the network, and you can't predict when newer, better, faster hardware is going to come out, and when huge mines around the world are going to upgrade their hardware to the new hardware, and that's going to raise the difficulty of the network so that they can find the number faster, but then that's going to render your equipment much lower, and even if you're mining in a pool, you're going to make less of a profit. So you have to consider that while you're doing it too. So there are a lot of variables here, but the one thing I really do like about this, even just from a hobbyist perspective, is I like the fact that when I'm running my miners, whether I'm making a profit or not, I'm actually participating in a free global currency that's not controlled by any government, that's not controlled by any bank, and that just makes me feel cool. That has a definite nerd factor to it. I also like the fact that somebody created a network that's so heavily built on top of encryption. It's incredibly secure for a peer-to-peer network. Is it absolutely invulnerable? No, there are cases where there are certain attacks that can be made that are semi-successful. But the amount of power required to make those attacks, if you think about it, are actually, they could have used that power to go actually be honest on the network and make more money. But largely overall, the network is very secure. Now, some other minor concerns that I have too after all the research that I've done is that there is a huge distribution of nodes across the network. But if the currency loses momentum and those nodes decide to shut down and there's fewer and fewer nodes, that's going to make the network easier to be taken over. I don't think that's going to ever happen because I see a lot more nodes coming online than going down. But realize that as more transactions occur, that transaction log is going to get bigger, which means it's going to be harder for the nodes to store because they need more hard drive space. And if transactions start going up at a huge amount of magnitude, especially since Bitcoin's being so heavily adopted, the pressure on those nodes is actually going to go up. But guys, just be careful. Make sure you calculate your risks if you're going to get involved in this. The thing is, there are so many people mining in so many countries that have very, very cheap power that it's incredibly hard to be profitable unless you have access to that same incredibly cheap power. And plus, remember, in a house, you only got so much electricity. I mean, my circuits can only handle about one SP20, maybe two each on my 20-amp circuits. So I can't run a lot of these, and I do need to run them in my garage. I can't just run them in rooms of the house because they are very noisy. The Spawn Dually is. The amp miner's not noisy. I could run 2 or 3 of those in every room of my house. But in order to be profitable at a large scale, like if you wanted to make an income out of it, you really would need a large farm operation. Or you would have to have a huge cloud mining operation. And those are things that I'm going to investigate and I'm going to talk more about in the future. But right now, guys, I hope I gave you enough information. I hope this video didn't go like too long or overwhelm you. It's really, really hard to try to say this stuff in a way that everybody's going to understand it because the Bitcoin network runs really, really deep. It is really, really technical how it works. And I didn't want to create a 5-hour video on how the Bitcoin network works fundamentally. But I think I got the main points out, and hopefully you guys really, really enjoyed this video. And I'm sorry for the incredibly long wait for me to make this. It was one of those things where it's like I just wanted to make sure that I had a very firm grasp on everything I was doing before I even attempted this video. And I hope that you guys are better off for it. All right, guys, until next time. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please take a moment and subscribe to my channel. It helps me a lot. Also come over to Twitter. I'm @Barnacles. I'm a real social guy. Also, if you have a couple of minutes, check out some of these many other videos. I made them myself.